Welcome to the Pinkhurst Podcast, a real and whimsical look at what it means to be fully alive with all the joy and chaos and pressure and vulnerability and beauty. Take the ride along with unexpected guests and be inspired to fall in love with your own unique destiny and meaning. Are you cheating on yourself? Are you closer than you thought to being banned in Florida? Listen to this heavy mental episode and see how you could tease your longing playfully and become intimate with that part of you that snaps at witty jokes and quotes. Unlatch with host Zachary Murdock and our guest, Jana Roemer, as we collect our unconscious and gather our inevitables into these skin baskets we call ourselves.
Permission to let go. If the dice brought you to this page, consider it a sign that today is a good day to switch it up. Internally, adjust the thermostat from logical to wonky. Have a book for dinner. Walk around your house in circles like a tiger stalking her shadow. Whisper gibberish to yourself and giggle like the last truly free spirit in the world. Misbehave contemplatively. Write love letters in windowsill dust to future yous. As Tom Robbins said, as a child, I was an imaginary playmate. Be that again today. In the face of taxes, health scares, family dramas, bad dreams, stomach troubles, politics, money woes, sex disasters, warts and blisters, dance, weirdly and without intention. Rhythmless is a rhythm of itself. Be of yourself today. Forget the world. Pick up these dice, pop them in your pocket, and holding your shadow's hand, take yourself on a much-needed sanity vacation. This episode is sponsored by He Said, She Said, They Said What? A collective unconscious copyright division of psychonaut lawyers who take hero doses and heroically dive into the dream world to see who invented it, wrote it, said it, and birthed it first. Tired of creating a beautiful something only to see online that some other ding-dong did it too? Call he, she, they said, and for a reasonable price, they will be able to clear the matter up for you. Our return guest today is Jana Roemer, a fellow astronaut and Don Quixote of existence and all of its trippy twists and turns. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. I love that poem.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's from one of my many books. So the dice, I'm actually going to bring dice in. When I was a kid in New York, I played a game called CeeLo, which is 3 dice. And we would play for money, and it would get really complicated quickly and emotional and, anyway. So recently, a couple of years ago, I thought, I'm going to write a book, and instead of tarot or, whatever, I'm going to figure out the outcome of 3 dice, which is 216. There's 216 potential outcomes if you roll 3 dice. So the book has 216 poems. But then we made another book, this is the prototype, a pocket-sized book called God Help Me, I'm Awake, which is now available. It's been in the works for a while, and I'm going to roll these dice to see which quote wants to join us on this episode. These are quotes from time travelers around the universe throughout time. So, let's see. 4, 3, 4. Okay. 4, 3, 4. Is from Buddha. That's funny.
Of course.
You cannot travel the path until you have become the path. So, on that note, permission to let go. What does that feel like for you today?
So if anybody doesn't know, I never know. I don't know what Zach's coming to me with, what he's coming to me with. And this has been such a big contemplation for me lately because I find the world to be so incredibly chaotic. and I know I'm not alone in this. And I'm reminded of two things. One of my teachers told me the story of one of her teachers, which I think I'll remember who it was in a second. But the teacher sat down in a coffee shop and gave himself one task. And the one task was to write down anything that's true. And he sat there with a blank page for days, you know? Do you know who I'm talking about? Oh my gosh, the name is on the tip of my tongue and it's just not coming out. Anyways, and that brings me to, you know, in Buddhism, they say there's actually a few different things. In Buddhism, they say that the world is full of illusion and it's your job to like come clear, like to release all illusion. When I first heard that, it was actually, I was in high school and I stopped listening to, actually, I really stopped listening when 9/11 happened. I stopped listening to all fiction. So whether it was reading books or watching movies or listening to the news or whatever, I just took all fiction out of my life. And it became a quest to try and only learn things that are true. So like about the body and the mind and, you know, or reading about people's lives. I got really into reading about people's lives. So I'm so fascinated with humans and the human condition and the way people think and how beliefs come into form and all of that stuff. That's like peak interest to me. But then I also have been sitting with this teaching from Yogi Bhajan in the Kundalini world, which he's fallen from grace and we see what a horrible man he is, but he said something that is still sitting with me. And that is, he said, there will be a time when 80% of the population is losing their minds in some way. And it's our job to stay awake and aware and to cut through the illusion. And he said it would happen in our lifetime. And I feel like we're there.
Definitely.
Like, I feel like that's where we are. And so when I sit with like letting go, what am I letting go of? It's really informed by that, like the teaching in yoga philosophy that the world is Maya and everything is an illusion has never felt more true to me. It's never felt more true to me. And so I've been sitting with that, like, okay, how do I want to show up as I'm going through this massive transformation in my own world? And in many ways I get to reinvent myself. And in many ways I get to step into more of who I feel is truly me. And so the letting go of is any part of myself that's linked into a false narrative. Any part of how I'm showing up that is censoring or screening or adjusting because of the multitude of false narratives and the consequences of stepping out of line or stepping outside of narrative. And that's really hard because right now the consequences of speaking outside of approved narrative by the group that you feel you're belonging with is to be ousted from that safety of belonging. And so there's a huge risk in what I am moving towards because I do not fit the common narrative. I don't.
I love it.
Yeah. So that letting go is actually like a stripping naked.
Absolutely. For me too. And I joked before we started recording, you know, if we're talking about truth and the opposite of truth, what comes up for me is, first of all, duality is suspicious. So I don't even know if there's truth or lie for me in this moment. That's one. Two, they say myth is a lie that tells the truth. For me, recently, I'm realizing that the unconscious, first of all, it's my duty now as someone in Pacifica to let everyone know you're not allowed to say subconscious ever again. Rinse your mouth. It's unconscious because sub implies hierarchy, and that is patriarchal bullshit, which is saying that the dream parts of ourselves are below, and that's not true. And so that's just a tangent, but it's the unconscious. And so the unconscious is more conscious of consciousness, and we are within the unconscious. The unconscious is not in us. Psyche is not within us. We are in psyche. So I say all that to say, if there are amorphous energies throughout time, archetypes that take the form of various times or people or symbols, this idea that the difference between symbols and signs are symbols that have been flattened. For example, the crucifix or the cross has appeared in cultures throughout time, but it became known only as that one example of what a cross is. Therefore, it's become flattened, and it doesn't maintain its mystery. So the reason myth is a lie that tells the truth is there's no way to tell the truth with words, because the truth is different for you, for me, for it, and it keeps evolving. So, permission, I love everything you said. I agree. And it's such a tricky time right now, especially because of the state of the world. And, I feel so blessed to have gone through so much shedding and so much forced devastation and things that I thought I wanted to happen, didn't happen. I kind of feel like I'm on bonus time. And yeah, that's for me, the wiggling and the letting go and being silly, like it's all good. And that truth, anyway, blah, blah, blah. But individuation, I wanted to talk about this word. So this is something I'm learning in my master's program, but I've been aware of a lot of these things. So I'm not just yapping about things I'm reading. This is a lifetime culmination. Carl Jung talked about individuation, but the idea of it is connected to what I'm saying. You may be familiar, but to individuate is to take all of the parts of self, especially those that have been repressed for whatever reason, and to integrate them. So like shadow, obviously, you don't eradicate the shadow, you integrate the shadow. So Frida, we just had to watch that movie, I'd never seen it, is an intense example of somebody who you could argue had a big individuation in her lifetime. She had polio, she got impaled in a bus crash, she had this intense life, and she kept showing up for art, really, creativity, expression, meeting life in that way, losing your mind in order to find your mind. I mean, something like that. So I just wanted to bring that up and see what you feel about your journey, because you are somebody who continues to be true to yourself in a time when you can be ousted, when you can be, things that were working, people might to leave you or banish you if you start speaking your new truth, your today truth. So what is that journey like for you? How does creativity come into that? How do you not take yourself too seriously? I don't know, something about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I feel like that's exactly the process that I'm like the process isn't the right word. It's like a journey. It's like the integration. It's the becoming. The individuation is such a big part. It's very much alive. Not only last time I was here, we talked a lot about the death of my mother, and that leaves me with no direct bloodline elders. Like my brothers and I are the eldest of our direct family line. We have no parents. And that is such an individuation process. Plus, when I look at what's going on in the stars, we are in a 22-year phase of individuation.
Collectively. Absolutely.
It is the most important thing that we go through, because they're like, again, I'm going to break off from common narrative, but astrologically, with Pluto is the lord of the underworld, and it takes you through these deep transformative processes that you could call it the shaman's journey, like the death of the ego and the rise of greater truth or more authenticity. And within that, though, there's always two sides, because what Pluto will do wherever it is it will show the shadow in a way that you cannot ignore it. And it becomes a test, in this one specifically, of individuation, because it's about the collective, because it's in Aquarius. Aquarius is humanity. It's the collective. It's everybody.
Yeah.
But when we look at really understanding the integration of a sign, you look at the opposite, and the opposite is Leo, which is creativity and authenticity and play and performance. And like the theater and, and all of that. And it's also sex and sexuality. And it's like kind of a raw force of fire that comes through and transforms. And so when we're looking at the health of humanity, it requires the individual to be so self-expressed. And when it's not, and this is the test, this is the 22-year test that we're in. If it's not, we surrender our will to the will of the power, because Pluto also shows power. And so we're in this battle between individual will and power over the collective in order to show the power of the collective to itself, which only comes through the process of individuation.
Paradox.
And so we have these incredible players in the world right now that you could cast all kind of labels on, but what they're doing is they're creating the pressure system that is giving us the opportunity to rise into greater sense of authenticity and to go through this individuation process and to have us questioning. And so there's a lot to what you just introduced, both in the way that I study and understand the world and my own individual experience of that. And it's scary. Oh my gosh, is it scary to step out of line in a moment where staying in line is not only your sense of belonging, but it's being architected through all of our channels of communication and our social networks. The architecture is changing in a way that, like, you step out of line or you show your individuality in a way that's not okay with these people, they're going to see. And they cast their stones.
I know. But that's why I'm so wiggled out. No one knows what the fuck I'm doing. I said to Molly, like, if I was, they're going after institutions, but they're shutting down. I mean, things are being banned in Florida, right? Books are being banned in Florida. I put in the beginning of this book is banned in Florida. And if I go play a show, I'm going to be a band in Florida, obviously. So you just keep it simple. But I agree. But Molly was saying you're too wiggly no one knows what you're actually talking about. My shit's too abstract. You're making me think of one of my brothers, Nick Taylor, from my program at Pacifica, sent me this poem by Bukowski, who I don't know much about Charles Bukowski. But because of my work with dice, if you don't mind, I'll read this. It's called Roll the Dice. And it's making me think of, like, everything you just said. There's no way out, So, like, facing our mortality while we're alive consciously is the gift. When you're caught, like Brock, our son, when he was 4, said in a channeling state, dogs must be on leashes if they want to escape. To me, that's the most profound thing you could ever say. That says it all. You must acknowledge you are fucked in order to not be fucked. And in your fuckedness, you can be fucked by the fuck. No, anyway, we can go on and on about that. But also, I learned this morning reading that in the Hebrew original word, to know means to have sexual relations. So to know thyself is to fuck yourself. Or to know God, to know you. There is some. So yesterday, a woman is talking about the cosmic war. God bless her. She's very sweet. I don't mean to sound like but she had come from, she had an alien encounter at a ceremony, and she, the cosmic war. And I'm like, sure. There's always a cosmic war, but it's inside as well as outside. We're seeing it. But to me, the impossible tension of everything you're describing, the only way to individuate is to know yourself, which, let's bring that to the new skeleton key I got this morning, is to fuck yourself. But I mean that seriously and as a joke. It's like, and out of the fucking of the paradox or the knowing, if you hold that tension in an alchemical marriage, and it's my 8-year wedding anniversary today. Shout out to that. Anniversary. Thank you.
I love you guys.
The third mysterious thing can be produced, right? The conjunctio in alchemy, So
Mm-hmm.
And the third mysterious thing can only happen when the tension is held. So we're being invited, as you said, by Pluto, by Leo, by whoever, to do that. You said it perfectly, and I'm going to add Bukowski here. So if you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way.
Yeah.
It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it despite rejection and the worst odds, and it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it, do it, do it, do it. All the way, all the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
Yeah,
And
I love that. That's kind of where I'm trying to get the courage to go.
I got goosebumps reading that, and I'm feeling like when you start to, this program I'm in, what's cool about it is it doesn't have a clear goal. There's no licensure we're getting. We'll have our masters, I could teach, but it's kind of vague. And I feel like the 14, 15 people in my cohort, which we are now called the Imaginary Friends, I proposed that to us this morning. And it's ranging from 25 to people in their 70s. So it's this beautiful thing. We're all there. And because we don't know what the goal is, but we're showing up for a longing inside of ourselves, it's set in motion something very holy, if I can use that word lightly. Like and I think the universe works like that. And so when you start talking about synchronicity, you see it. And Jung, it's so funny because Jung is problematic. Obviously, we're all fucking problematic. Jung used problematic languages. And my professor, Dr. Nick, who is a self-proclaimed fat, gay, bald sorcerer, that's what they said, and they're non-binary, a doctor and a practicing magician, incredible human being, was talking about Jung's problematicness, etc. But when you let go of all of that, because that's something else you made me think of when you mentioned that gentleman who has now lost their mind, but you enjoyed their quote. There's a concept called death of the author. And it's you might know it, I didn't know it. It's really cool because it basically means stop looking at the author to analyze the work. Look at the work itself as an autonomous being that came through the author, like a child who was born through something, and keep them separate. Of course, there's a connection, but yeah.
Yeah, and we also have to receive their teachings in the context of society at the moment that they were taught.
Exactly.
So by today's standard, a lot of what these teachers said was problematic. By those standards, they weren't.
Exactly.
And like you mentioned myth right out of the gates, and we still use Zeus as a figure in mythology, let's say in astrology. Well, Zeus was like raping and having sex with guys and girls, and he was married, and he would transfigure into a woman in order to get the man that he wanted. Like he was doing all kinds of stuff.
Tricky ass shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's metaphors. It's like metaphors.
Killing, all of it. I mean,
and so just to, exactly. So that process of basically what Jung said is that different than Adler, who said that power is our main drive, and then Freud said sex is our main drive. What Jung brought into the conversation was that the religious instinct is the first and most important drive in a human being. Now, if you are connected to your religious instinct in a practicing way, sex, power, everything else, neuroses will fall away straight up just by having a connection to a holy experience. Now, what religious meant to Jung is not religion. Okay, what it means, fuck religion in the dogmatic sense, but bless everyone, and if it works for you, that's awesome. I personally have trouble with religion in their current forms because I'm very aware of the oppression, honestly, and the abuse and the abuse. But
Manipulation.
The gaslighting and the missionaries and the witches got, whatever, being burned. So what I love this definition of religion. And if you brought in 10 theologians and asked the definition, you'd get 25. That's what Dr. Nick says. But religion is paying close attention. That's such a fucking cool idea. Paying close attention. Synchronicity, dreams, things that are, there's no random. Anima mundi, soul of the world, everything is alive. But we live in a time where it's subjective, objective. Things only become alive if they're something I want, need, or fear, as opposed to using your heart as your brain, which it is, your first brain, your sensing brain. Your mind is not your brain. And then there's nothing wrong. It's just you're here to sense, and beauty or sexy or that is the essence of it, whatever it is, showing itself to you. Anyway, I'm rambling a bunch of ideas, but this episode, when I tapped into it, and I'm so aware of how much pain is going on in the world. I'm aware of it in people I love. I'm aware of it at the gym this morning, and people ask me how I'm doing physically, mentally, day to day. I suffer, and I feel like I'm pretty uncomfortable in my body most of the time. Unfortunately, that's another discussion, but I'm having the fucking best time I've ever had right now. And I think it's because I'm leaning in to the cosmic joke, if that makes sense, or I'm freeing myself. So that brings in the Fool. I know I'm talking a lot. I apologize. I really want to, but I'm bubbling. The Fool in relation to the earth-sky tension. So these cosmic wars, these tensions, these inner, outer, my personal moment perspective, and I'm curious about yours, is the Fool is the one who's going to guide us through right now. If we're caught on leashes and we accept our fuckness, like what else are you going to do? You have to start being foolish, which might mean engaging in creative practices you did when you were a child that seem ridiculous. And like, how is that going to help me pay my bills? There's something later I wanted to read that's about education specifically, and how messed up we are and how far away education has become from what it could be. But I think the Fool represents that like audacity to do something for you and to follow your pleasure, which is not just like food and sex pleasure. It's like follow your, like your joy. And the theory that if we were all in harmony with our inner selves, the world would be a perfect harmony because everything would be in harmony in its exact place.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll stop talking. What's up with your Fool? How foolish can you be right now?
I think the Fool, what's beautiful about the Fool is the naivety and the like curiosity and the I don't know-ness of it all. And I think we have too many people thinking that they know when nobody fucking knows what's going on. Like, let's be honest. I think the most damaging and simultaneously liberating thing that I've done is I've stepped out of any binary and taken information from all sides. And when I first started doing that, I started to think that maybe I was going crazy because my beliefs were being challenged on such a huge level. Like I was like, no, I swear I thought it was this. And you guys are so sure it's this. And, and I just watched, and I actually watched like so many beliefs have no choice but to dissolve, like no choice to become recognized as not true. And, but in the process of doing that, I think that where it became, so the harm was, at first I thought I was going crazy. The liberation is the recognition that nobody has a clue what's going on. Like nobody does, no matter how sure you are in the story that you're telling of what's going on in the world. There's the chance of the story that you're telling to actually be true is so minuscule at this point, And so that became the most liberating thing, because now I love listening to people and their conviction. Like, it's this way, it's this. And I'm just like, I just am so fascinated how somebody can be so convicted in a world full of lies right now. And like, and so then that frees me up, because I'm like, I don't need to be invested in the 10,000 different storylines, because one, they're changing so quickly, and the amount of energy that it would take me to stay caught up in that storyline is astronomical. It's impossible. And especially if I'm doing it for multiple storylines. So then I was like, okay, so if I'm not going to be invested in the storylines that I can clearly see now from watching them from many different angles, that nobody knows what's going on, it's all story. It's all, we're filling in the blanks with the things that we don't know with our imagination in a way that makes us either validate our feeling, to reinforce our anger or our fear, or to bring us into righteousness, right? And so we fill in all these things and we latch onto these things, but really it's not it. And so that to me is the fool's journey that I'm on, is to be fascinated without being attached, Like, I can sit in a room with literally anybody and be genuinely curious about how they got to the conclusion that they're at. And when I view the world through that lens, I actually find that I have less anger. I have less polarized to people. There's a character in my life right now that I'm not going to give details, because it would be too obvious who this person is, and so I'm going to leave it incredibly vague. But I could not be more polarized from this person. But I am in a situation where I am required to be amicable with this person. And there are other people in this same community that aren't that. Like, he's very much an outsider, but I have an invested reason to understand his thinking. And people in my world are like, how do you do it? How do you sit in those conversations? And I'm like, but I have to. I have to sit in that conversation, because that mind, those words coming out of his mouth, are feeding my children. And I need to know what is going into my child's mind, so that I can then also plant seeds, and I can have conversations that are both compassionate and empathetic, but also not leading my child down a road 100%. Of like what I think is absolutely crazy, right? So, I think that fool's journey actually allows us intimacy with the things that we fear, or the things that we hate, or the things that we separate from, in a way that is not only embracing my shadow, but I'm actually integrating my shadow in the reflection of the other.
Well, Buddha said that we have no friends, no enemies, just teachers. So it's similar.
Yeah. And
similar
actually,
idea.
I'm finding it to be so healing. It's so comforting. I carry less hate in my heart today than I ever remember in my life, because of this approach to reality in the moment.
Beautiful. Yeah, you made me think too that true insanity, like unhealthy insanity, perhaps is not knowing you're crazy.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like when when you think you know the truth, you are far off. When you think you're not crazy and your way is right, that's when it's scary. To know you're gently, lovingly call it crazy. Yeah, we all are. To know you know nothing. So this is from an writer named Albert Kreinheder or Heder, I'm not sure, from an article called Art in Jungian Analysis. And it really, the whole article, if you can get your hands on it, whoever's listening, it's fire. The basic conditions of creativity: freedom for solitude, for searching and exploring, freedom to believe in one's own judgments and inner evaluations, these are all lacking. Instead, children are externally judged. They are forced into ability groups, teams, and organizations on a mass scale. There is an obsession with order and discipline, so much so that schools are grim, joyless places, the enemies of children. Charles A. Reich has called the American school a brutal machine for destruction of the self, controlling it, heckling it, hassling it into 1,000 busy tasks, 1,000 noisy groups, never giving it a moment to establish knowledge within. What would it be like if schools sought to facilitate the self-realization of children? Art activities would then gain a new prominence, and all activities would be carried out in the spirit of art, as experiments in self-realization. Art and the symbol bind the broken man together again, for they appeal to both mental and physical selves. Why was education ever construed so narrowly as stuffing one's head with knowledge? It was Plato's idea that all education and all laws should be so devised as to make possible the experience of beauty, and this was to be accomplished by participation in the arts. Beauty, said Plato, was the sole physician for the soul's bitterest pain. I love that line. It brought a shuddering chill and a reverential awe and generated the warmth and flow of the bodily energies. William Blake felt that the only studies worth pursuing were those involving imagination and the fine arts. All others weaken and deaden a man. Herbert Reed, the British philosopher, teaches that the mind grows and expands into wider consciousness by activities that are aesthetic. He proposes that education should be conceived of primarily as a cultivation of the sensuous activities as art education. If such ideas sound wild, let us be wild. From what we've seen of the other, we should be willing to try this. And obviously, that's a long, heady thing, but I mean, it's also like John Lennon. The realer I become, the less real the world becomes.
Yeah.
And that's the same as what you're saying with the more you see through the illusion. And then words to me are so tricky too, because I say illusion, Joe says illusion, Bob says illusion, and it means something different. Exactly. So that's something that this idea of truth as a consensus truth is never going to happen. Like there's no consensus truth, which is like a camel arguing with a squirrel. Like, no, it's different. And the squirrel's like, no, it's this way. And it's like, dude, you're a camel, I'm a squirrel. So if we could look at it like we're all that, and then within that, I think there are universal truths, whatever that means, but you can't really describe them like with words even, like you just know in the having sexual relations with the mystery sense, but you can't talk about it. So I don't know. I just think what that gentleman was talking about is so dope and so clear and so obvious. Like, what? I've known this forever. What are we doing? And like you said, the only way to start is to do that myself and with you in this moment. And this conversation is a collaboration and playful, and I'm having fun. And I appreciate you. And the train is honking in agreement. So
I love the train at your place.
Yeah. So let's see. Is there anything from that makes you want to say something? I can also bring us.
I mean, there's so much in what you just shared. There's so many layers in that. Like one of them that stood out, and it was not, anyways, was about the schools and the young minds. And I think that's a really pertinent topic for today's world, and it is the media controls the message, and and it kind of loops back to the Fool, and I want to bring in the power of AI right now and how I think AI is going to create the biggest distortion that we've ever seen away from like soulful reality or like divinity, like whatever creator source, what we came from, what we return to, which I think is one of the greatest mystery questions ever asked, is like, why are we here? Like, I think everybody at some point in their life is like, what the fuck is this all about? Like, why am I doing this? And it could be in a really esoteric sense, or it could be finding themselves at the end of a bottle and just being like, what the fuck? or like, in a job that means absolutely nothing and you're just going through the motions day after day. And somebody's like, why am I doing this? Or somebody in an existential crisis, like, what is this existence? Like that.
I think AI is even about to start having an existential crisis.
The problem is people are outsourcing their gifts to AI. And I actually took an AI course. I'm so glad I did it. So I have a better understanding of it. And of course, that's changing as well. But like, what I did is I actually started to ask questions about the things that I feel like astrology or yoga nidra. And I saw the distortion that people are thinking this is true, but like it's spitting out information. I'm like, that is so flat to bring back a word. It's
symbols and signs. Yeah. It's a sign.
It's so like there isn't the depth, and it's not inherently true. And when you ask different questions, it's like, oh, you got me there. That actually, or, like, and so I think as we outsource our thinking, as we outsource our inquiry to something that just hands it to us and without question, I think it's going to create one of the greatest distortions. And now we've got AI coming into the school systems. And like the question I keep asking is like, who's programming the AI? Like, it's fine and dandy right now, but when do we get to the tipping point where all of a sudden somebody behind the scenes is like, let's direct it to answer this way? And I went on one particular AI site, and their page just said that it can answer all your questions, or it can make all your decisions. I forget exactly what it was, but I was like, no, we don't want you making all of our decisions. Like, that is a problem. That is not like we can't even fully comprehend what that is. So education and teaching, what did you say? What did it say? It said teaching in the education system.
Well, there's the part, you mean the American school system part? A brutal machine for destruction of the self, controlling it, heckling it, hassling it into 1,000 busy tasks, 1,000 noisy groups, never giving it a moment to establish knowledge within. Knowledge within is the key right there to me.
But you also said something about, or it also said something about what if it taught.
Oh yeah. Would it be like if schools sought to facilitate the self-realization of children, basically through art? Like if everything was this exploration that within each of us, there is a you that came down here, a Jana, like a mysterious Jana who's probably, their name isn't Jana. Like
right.
And like, what does that being really want, And so like, that's what education in the Latin etymology, I believe, meant, is to coax the genius out of someone, to coax the pre-existing genius, which is a spirit, not you or us. It's like an accompanying angel. So yeah, it's crazy. And I just want to add one thing to that real quick. So James Hillman talks about something that kind of blew my mind, the animism. Are you familiar with animism?
Very much raised, basically.
Yeah, I think I'm an animist. Yeah, I mean, I am an animist, but I don't like labels. So I'm an animist plus, everything. But the idea that whether it's, say, a disease, whether it's AI, that it's actually not the thing itself that's being communicated. This, I don't know if this makes sense, and I'm still grappling with it, but it's almost like a metaphor of the soul of the world communicating. So what is the soul saying of the world with AI? It's actually saying something. And there is a reason, there is a soul, there is an archetype that is embodying AI right now, and it's saying something. And if nothing is good or bad, what is it saying? I see it as like balance and imbalance. I totally agree with you. I don't use AI. I think it's cheesy. I think it's beneath me if I'm going to get high and mighty with my nails painted. That shit is beneath me. My flip on it is IA. I am, motherfucker. I am. I'm not AI. I'm not AI unless we're talking about Allen Iverson, for all my NBA heads out there. But that's interesting to me, again, to the factories, the diseases, like I mentioned, the chemicals in food, the horrendous things in this physical realm. What is the soul of the world communicating? Just to bring that into the conversation. But please continue on anything you want to say about that, because it's definitely up right now. And both being parents, like we have agency right now to fuck them up in more interesting ways.
Yeah, my husband and I were just talking last night about how, like, family, like we grew up and we were held by our families, and now we're the holders of family, right? And like what my husband and I deem as important or investable with our time, our attention, our money, our, like what we are actively creating in our life is what we actively pass on to our children. And we're at this place where it's such a crux, right? Like there's so much going on. And we were having kind of a philosophical conversation about that responsibility now as the world is changing. And one of the things that I had a bath afterwards, and one of the things I was thinking about in the bath is the connection to source. Like my mother instilled such a beautiful connection to creator source energy without it being dogmatic or religious at all. I wasn't raised in a religion. I was never given religious texts. I was shown God in everything. And I was shown that I can communicate with everything, whether society deems it alive or not. I can communicate with the stars and the rocks and the seeds that we plant in the soil. And I can communicate with the animals on our property, whether they're domesticated or I grew up on an acreage. There was pelicans and deer and beaver and, all the animals that live there. And so that was normalized for me. And I started to question, like, am I doing a good job of passing that on to my children in the same way that like a Christian would make sure that their children go to church? Because for me, I've never read a Bible, but I'm deeply spiritual. And yeah, I was just like, okay. And so with that also comes, I had an adult talk to my 10-year-old, almost 11-year-old, that he's very homophobic. And he was trying to tell my son that he needs
the man is, or
this adult was trying to tell my son that eventually he will have to partner up with a woman. And I'm like we're the queerest friendly family, I'm like, luckily the adult came and told me that. And so then I said, what were you and so talking about? And he told me, and he just was like, I didn't want to argue with him. I already know, but I had the ability to go in and check in. And so like, what are the things that we're passing down? What are we growing within our children? What are we making sure stays alive generation to generation? Like, what are those important things, especially now where I think, like, I'm one of the last generations. I was born in 79. And so I grew up without the internet all the way through to the end of high school. We had typewriters. We learned how to type on typewriters that like sent up a stamp on the paper.
Sick. Yeah.
And so there is something so special about that I think needs to be shared. And so, I don't know, that the whole, I think the relationship with reality, like the foundation of reality that we set, and then how that blossoms through life might be the most important thing. And so as parents, to be waking that up within ourselves, whether it's through recall and whether it's like, well, I didn't like that was instilled in me, and I wish to set forth a different path of what I'm instilling. Or I really love this piece and I want to instill it. Or I've discovered this about life and I want to make sure that you carry this. Like if you think of some of the indigenous language of like wisdom keepers, right? I think as soon as you become conscious of the wisdom that you're holding and you're carrying, you also become a wisdom keeper that then gets to pass that through. And so if we're not having these philosophical conversations and we're just going through the motions and we're allowing society and the world to just determine that for us, like, am I sitting in the back seat of the car of life, or am I at the wheel driving? And am I driving a standard, or am I, like shifting the gears, or am I just on autopilot? Like there's different ways that we can choose to be engaged right now. And so that's a question that I'm asking myself over and over and over again, when it's so easy to sit back and scroll, or where it's so easy to type the question into AI and get something spit out and take action on that. Like, wait a second, how can I uphold meaning? How can I uphold purpose? How can I How can I cultivate attention and what I'm paying attention? How can I be aware of what information I'm steeping my soul in, right? Like if I'm sitting on social media, like there was just this whole thing that came through social media that wanted to take over. Like it seems like it comes in waves. It's like, oh, first it's this crisis, then it's this crisis, then it's this crisis, then it's this crisis. And if we keep getting taken away by every single crisis, then where do we get the point where we get to instill the meaning? Where do we get?
It's always a crisis. That's why I'm like, all right, so might as well chill out.
And when do we get to just go sit in silence and listen? And I'm not saying don't pay attention, but also how much of yourself are you giving to that? And I can't go fight the wars myself, right? No. Like I'm not the person that's going to go fight the war externally.
You are right now, though.
But I get to fight the war inside. I get to that. The war that I get to fight is for control over my son's minds.
Yeah.
The war that I get to fight is for like the quality of every input, whether it's food, air, water, media, education, all of it. Like that's the war I can fight. That's where I can actually make a difference on the ground. And there is also a narrative that wants to put shame around that being the focus when there's so much suffering going on. And I fully reject that. I fully reject it.
I reject. Anything dogmatic is. So here, speaking of driving cars, I made up a joke a couple days ago. What does a bee drive?
I don't know.
A Mustang. You know what I'm saying? And then this is another joke I made up. To realize you are not dead, to realize you are not already dead is a grave mistake. No, but I feel you. My dad would always say, if you don't occupy yourself, something else will. And that's a succinct way of saying, whether it's AI or, any news station, any social crew, like anything, it's very easy to allow that to be swayed. And for me, the only way to do it is, as far as being a father, is to know that he came in with his own agenda and knows what he's doing, and he's going to navigate. And B is to lead by example, which is what you're saying too, and to make it like sexy, not trying to make it sexy, but it is sexy. Like reading articles at 5 a.m. alone, the eurekas I'm experiencing are so delicious, I can't even explain it. And like being able to make crazy songs and every day and talk to you on this show and tattoo and paint my nails and be a trickster and then just be a simple person. It's the best thing in the world, like the Bukowski poem. So I think just emanating, like if, people talk, I guess it's almost making me think like if you want to be inspired by somebody, because we can't teach anyone anything exactly or follow anyone because it's on you to follow you. But if you want to be inspired, look how they make you feel, right? Because also my dad would say, I don't love you. When you say I love you to someone, it's really what you're saying is I love the way I feel when I'm with you. Wow. It's an interesting perspective, not saying it's true. Okay, so Anthony Starr, I don't know who the hell that is, Storr, I think, but I'm reading so much I've become the absent-minded professor. Yesterday we left soccer practice. We hear a noise as we're down the road. My folder of tons of things have flown off the roof. We jumped out. We had to run around, scattered papers. I'm literally the absent-minded professor. So someone I read recently named Anthony Storr says, and I wrote it down for this, so I guess I was feeling it for our episode, we are caught by the opposites and cannot escape their trap, unless perhaps we use creativity to create a union between the polarities, the dualities. So I already mentioned that, but I think that's a crucial thing to mention a million times in this day and age, because to me that is the secret sauce, if you will. That is the secret right there. Like Yogananda talks about it in a different way. Brother Anandamoy, if you're familiar with, the self-realization stuff. Anything anytime you look in this world for peace you're not going to find it. It's not out there. No matter where you go, no matter how rich you get, you're always going to have this longing, this burning, because that longing, that divine dissatisfaction that will never leave you, because we're here to keep going even after death. That is the thing you have to like follow. And every day it's a new thing. So I think, yeah, that can't be said enough. I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to talk about. Just being caught in the polarities. We can't escape it unless we use creativity to create a union between them. And creativity does not necessarily mean art in that way, just creativity, like thinking out in your own way, like.
Yeah. It's so interesting that that's a quote that you pulled out, because from an astrological perspective, the planet Uranus, I call Uranus the great awakener, and he's the creative genius. He's the innovator. He's what like drives change forward. And his energy is very discontinuous. So you could think of like earthquakes or lightning strikes or epiphanies, or, you get an idea, and if you don't write it down, it disappears because somebody else grabbed it. Right. And someone else is taking it's not yours anymore. You didn't act.
We'll sue them. I'm going to sue them.
Yeah, right. And so we have Uranus just snuck into Gemini at the end of last year, and then it's retrograding back into Taurus. Actually, my apologies. It's, I think, at 0 degrees Gemini. It moves back in. Sorry, it's going to leave on November 7th, so it's still in Gemini at this moment, and then it's going to go back into Taurus. But then in April of 2026, it's going to stay there till 2023 or 2033. Wow. Pardon me.
2033.
2033. Wow. So we've got like an extended period of time here, and it's in Gemini, which is the duality. Crazy. And so our awakening and our creativity is coming through exploring polarity in a way that makes you question and look for that third. Remember, at the very beginning, you talked about the pressure or the tension. The intensity of the tension of polarities actually can lead you to a place of the third that is integrating the two and something new, is kind of the way that I understand that.
100%.
And so that's a big piece for our evolution as a species right now.
So exciting.
Yeah. And what's fun about it is that we had other planets, shorter-lived planets, visit Gemini, like Jupiter was just in Gemini last year. And so we've had this like tease into it where we've had, we are so polarized right now that as like, around the world, it's not just North America, it's the globe is polarized. Everywhere you look, we are sitting in polarity. And so we are literally sitting in that tension, and people are kind of getting sick of the battle. Like, people don't want to fight. People are like, end the war, like, stop. It's time to stop. Like, where's your humanity? And it's coming from all sides now. It's not just one side. It's like, okay, when? And that is such a key piece of this astrological story of when we say when, because now the tension is creating something different. And it's actually there are so many different places where people are crossing the aisle in belief or in curiosity or wanting to understand, or they're being shocked by somebody different than them saying something that they agree with. Like, who knew I'd be listening to this person right now? This is, and these are the bridges that are coming in that are going to allow that tension of opposites, the polarity of opposites, to actually create something different that we haven't seen before. We are in this alchemical, inventive, innovative, forward moving phase that I'm so excited. Like, and when I can sit there, when I can sit with like, okay, we are in this pressure system, then instead of feeling pressured, I get to look back at the pressure and open to the pressure and allow it to work on me in a way that lets me have a different perspective and to tap into the creativity or to tap into that epiphany energy that's sitting there waiting for humans to reach in and grab it, that then allows us to start to do something different. And I think one of the most important things that we do right now is to not turn our back on the opposite. to actually turn around and be like, okay, monster. Like, because usually the opposite is a monster in some way, right?
That's individuation too. The moment you like the child or the adult who as a child had fantasies of murdering their parents or being a serial killer or having sexual deviance, like all those things are very normal, but they become weird when they're repressed. If you bring them out, then they lessen in their power, and they don't need to be literally expressed because they're revealed to be maybe not even that, like they weren't necessarily that specific. They were an energy that was being shoved down that wasn't allowed, so then it has to come out as a grotesque thing. What you're making me think, though, I love that, letting the pressure work on you and making me feel this like ancient awareness coming through me of whether it's Rumi or any of the mystics. Like, do you know, not you, but us, do we know? I don't think we realize the magnitude of the fucking blessing of what this is, this life actually is. The fact that you are here.
Yeah.
We are here. And it's Christmas times every holiday times when my dad put me in a car one night after a music video shoot and looked at the moon and said, you have no idea what's in store for you far beyond that. You think that moon is beautiful. You have no idea what's waiting for you. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't him speaking. And I got goosebumps, and I knew if we knew how loved we are by beings, and words cannot describe. I don't even want to call them beings, let alone God, let alone like we are being slowly prepared for the party of a fucking eternity. And all of that pressure just made me think, like, if you let it work on you, there's a gift which will satisfy the wound and the many wounds. There is a balm, there is a honey wine, there is a insert metaphor here that is tailor-made for you and only you, that is waiting to be given to you.
Yeah.
A woman. And also I liked when you said, like, when we say when, which is like in wrestling when you say, uncle.
Yeah.
But I was saying we need to change it to aunt or aunt. When you say aunt, it's time to say aunt.
Yeah.
But that's amazing. And yeah, I
just last night I was journaling about how my grief journey, my mom died just over 2 years ago. Mm. And in the beginning, somebody said to me, you'll be grateful one day. And I was like, fuck you. I will never be grateful my mother died. And I'm not grateful my mother died, but I'm grateful for the journey that she set me on. Like I healed so many versions of myself by giving myself over to grief, by not running from it, by turning to it and saying, have your way with me, whether it was like an individual moment of tears or the whole process. I decided in the beginning that I was just going to let it have me. And I was going to surrender to this force of grief, this entity of grief. And last night I was just making a note like, wow, the 20-year-old version of me experienced healing. The 4-year-old version of me, the 15-year-old version of me, even the version of me that was like young in my marriage or young in my motherhood. And my kid's only 11, next month he's 11. And like, there's so many versions of me that were healed through the process of grieving. And grief isn't just sadness. Grief is it's stepping up into, it is releasing, it's shedding, it's owning, it's becoming, it's reflecting, it's embodying, it's, there's so much to it. It's grappling with oneself. It's reflecting on lineage. It's, there's so many layers to it. And I think if with the opposites, or with like stepping out of narrative or stepping out of societal expectations, we start to open ourselves up to a more full spectrum experience of these pressure systems, or of the discomfort, or of the suffering, that open up doors that we didn't even know existed, let alone know to open them. Right. But it's by being present with what life is giving you, what life is offering you, what is showing up at your door, And instead of judging it or pushing it away or saying, I'm not that, that's not me. No, it's in your consciousness. It is now brought into your conscious awareness. It is a part of you, whether you like it or dislike it. You cannot be separate from the thing that is at your doorstep. You can be tortured by it.
Jung said, I know nothing, therefore I will do whatever occurs to me. So that's what it's like, trusting what's arriving, whether it's the butterfly, whether it's a car crash, whether it's a word that you say to me in this moment, like trusting that everything is conspiring. But that's a big part, is presume meaning. I feel like what happens to a lot of us, myself, well, actually, no, I've lived a pretty symbolic life and I've been with it the whole time. But I think what can happen is in our rejection, either we over literalize myth that's dogma. And then it's like, to me, it's so clearly insane when someone's saying this literally is the only way, like the Bible is literal. I'm like, wait. And then they're making fun of mythology. And I'm like, wait, you're saying this one myth happened, but everything else is like, you realize how crazy you sound, right? Like, motherfucker. But in our rejection, and we're not taught how to receive, basically. We don't know how to hear myths. We don't understand the language of myths, that they're not literal, that they're not histories, that they're archetypal expressions of our psyche, of realms beyond this world. But due to that, we often throw the baby out with the bathwater. So it's either all or nothing, and I think, yeah, I mean, just thinking about raising our children and you carrying on the parts of your childhood that meant a lot to you, and are you doing enough with, your son connecting with the deer or the pelicans, and how do we create that space? It's amazing. And on that note of the chanceness, I'm going to roll the dice one more time. 1, 1, 2. 1, 1, 2. So that is right here. Okay. One of my favorites, Hermann Hesse. Whoever leaves a congregation initially has to face a solitude, which often makes them soon miss the community. Only at the end of their solitary journey will they realize that they have joined a great, new, but invisible community, which encompasses all cultures and all religions. They will be stripped of everything rational and dogmatic, but instead will feel enriched by the spiritual, he says brotherhood, but let's say family, of all times, all nations, and all languages. That's real.
It's amazing.
I mean,
How do I get your book?
Right here, right now. There's 50 copies to start available. God help me, I'm awake.
Yeah, I want one. This is great.
I got you. Yeah. It's the beginning of I think like the gamifying, not in the modern technology way, but life is a game of chance. The universe is playful. The universe is not here to say, you're a bad boy, you're a sinner. The universe is experimenting and learning about itself. The universe is Bambi. The universe is the wolf ripping a rabbit's throat out. The universe is crazy sex. The universe is tidal waves. The universe is gentle breeze. The universe is snuggling. It's all these things. And I think that what this book, why it is really powerful to me as a lifetime thing, is that game, that sense of play, that mixture of wisdom. Like halfway through this book, there's a quote from my dog, and it just says harumph. Because that's what it is, man. Sometimes it's just harumph. You know what I mean? My favorite part, actually, if you've ever read Narnia, we were reading it to Rock recently. So the end of the book, there's all these quotes, and this is a series, so this will go on. And there's little legends in here by myself, and they're about a rooster named Galu, and Galu is the symbol of awakening and on this farm. But anyway, it's hard to pick all these quotes, and I'm going through. So Reepicheep, if anyone is familiar, the mouse in Narnia, he's the most fierce warrior little mouse, and he's crazy, and he's being held. Anyway, the book ends by saying, in the end, the number of things he thought of saying all at once nearly suffocated him, and he became silent. And that's the story of my life every day.
Oh my God, I feel like that's where I am right now.
Becoming silence. That, this whole podcast will be an hour and a half of silence. So, okay, let's see. As we slowly wind, what have we been here, an hour and 10? Can you flow a little longer?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to throw out some not crazy, but things that I wrote down, kind of like keywords. I don't even know. So the idea of I've been cheating on myself, I thought that was a nice way of thinking about things, because I've been noticing that, and I'm not saying I've been cheating on myself, anyone, like the idea of you've been cheating on yourself. I thought that's a cool way to reverse it. And almost in the like knowing has this sexual connotation in the original way. And we're often thinking about, oh no, I have to be loyal to the outside world. But wait a minute, this whole time you've been cheating on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, like how to not cheat on yourself anymore.
I think it starts with the contemplation of like, how have you been cheating on yourself?
Yeah.
Because like for me, I've never really contemplated that before. And so the first thing that came to me was like, wait, how am I cheating on myself?
I feel like I must be cheating on myself in little moments throughout the day that I'm trying to not anymore.
I guess maybe one of the ways I cheat on myself is to scroll.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm cheating on myself if I'm scrolling instead of creating, right?
Yes.
I'm consuming instead of creating. I feel like I'm a very creative life force. I feel the most alive when I'm creating. And one of the things that I love just reminding myself about is like beauty is not a measure of like the shape of my nose, but it's a measure of the quality of life force that moves through me. Right. And like, if we want to create more beauty in the world, it's about generating and creating a greater life force, which comes through creative acts and authenticity. And so if one of my goals is to create more beauty in this world, cheating on myself would be like doing things that are actually collapsing me or like, putting me into a consumptive state instead of a creative state. But I would really have to think about other ways that I'm cheating on myself.
Well, I'll go now. I'm going to pretend some other, which is true, other me in the past wrote these down, and it's like a game show. We're going to say, boom, boom. And so what comes up for me in this moment is all of the times and ways that I allow myself to feel bad about parts of myself based off what other people think is good or bad.
Whoa. Yes. Okay, great.
Whether that's sexual, whether that's ideas, whether that's anything where I start using a microscope, magnifying glass to look inside at the plethora of me's, and I say, oh, you're a fucker. You're the bad. That's not okay to think all that. And I don't want to do that anymore. That's cheating on myself because these are my people right here. I am many. I contain multitudes. And each of them has their own place and space.
Yeah.
So that's that. Okay, next. The longing that never stops whispering. So that's an old idea. Forget there's a word for it in Greek, but at the bottom or the base of everything is a longing. And I love the word longing, to long for. I am longing for God. I'm longing for myself. I'm longing. So how close are you to that right now? Because that almost goes to the Bukowski thing, like, and the cheating on myself, like, and it's slippery. And remember, I'm a poet to anyone listening, and this is not FDA approved except for in one country, and I'm not legally allowed to say which one that is. But don't take me seriously, but take me very seriously. So obviously, the longing and following that, or the Bukowski poem where he's like, go all in, you might end up in jail, you might lose your mind. Like, that sounds great. And it's true. I did end up in a mental hospital, whatever. But I'm not recommending that. And I think it's important to kind of integrate, meaning not like a sudden, jump out the window one day, metaphorically. But as we slowly commit to us, it's true that everything you thought is you is subject to be fucking gone. Like, if your family, if your job, if your body, if your anything is not in service of your longing, if you're lucky, that will be made clear in this lifetime, because the only thing we're here to do, in my not so humble opinion is
You sound that is not humble. My strong opinions
is to fulfill that longing. That is why we came here. So how close are you to your longing right now?
I'm always close. My
Good.
longing, like if I were to define longing as that feeling inside that's guiding me to my next step, right?
That's
Like,
it.
the longing is like, it's actually one of my best friends, because it's like, if I'm following that, I'm being guided by something, a force, a feeling it's a guidance. And so I'm really close to it. And the longing right now where I am is actually the recognition that something that I used to long for is no longer longing for me. Like there's not a longing there.
So you got to
So
drop
it kind
the
of brings it full
snaps.
circle to like, what are we letting go of? And like the recognition, like, I don't want to give too much away because I'm so deep in this actually. In this
Because the next episode we will reveal the secret of life. So you got to stay tuned. You can't give too much away right now.
But yeah, like
I love that answer.
yeah, and I think sometimes longing, I like the word longing better, because some people will say desire, and desire has this shameful negative connotation, but like that it is a force inside of you that only wants what you're here to do, to be realized, or like to be guided to the thing that's yours.
And now I'm imagining we're in some like poetry cafe and smoking a cigarette and we have a beret on or something, but it's like, yo, man, like we're stoned, even though I'm sober, but I'm always stoned these days, but without
Just get
being
high
stoned.
on meditation, right?
I'm just high off it, you know. I'm not talking about the tech side of the company, except I am in terms of the angels who are the tech side of the life company. Okay. I'm feeling that like, oh yeah, belonging. I be longing for not to not belong. I want to become the belonging to be longing. I will not be longing to. I don't know. I was just making fun of myself, but there's something to that.
There's something there
To not belong, but to be longing itself. It's heavy, man.
No, it's actually liberating.
It is
like
heavy.
What you're saying right now to me is, like you just unlatched something for me with belonging, because actually what it's guiding, like I keep trying to
is to be longing.
I keep trying to embody the truth that when I let go of one shore, there's like a new world, right? And I'm like, there's a part of me that's afraid to let go and like afraid of the judgment, but the longing to follow the longing, it actually creates the belonging with like the moreness of like the greater alignment. There's something in there.
Which makes me think of the quote by Hess in The Congregation. And like, if you leave the thing that's belonging, like I belong to at said church, I belong to said job, I belong to even the joke that I wrote in the beginning about a lawyer team that takes high doses and dives into the collective unconscious to figure out who actually invented what first. Because often you hear whether it's the invention of the television or someone saying, damn it, that book just came out. I've had that idea for 3 years. It is true that the collective unconscious is really there.
Yeah.
So I wrote a lyric 2 months ago where I say a lot of words to say one thing. I love you. I know nothing. The mother is king. And then Florence comes out with that song, or at least I came aware of it, where she says, I am no mother. I am no bride. I am king. I'm like, damn it, Florence, you jacked that for me. My team is on it. Yeah. No, it's amazing. But that comes to mind of like, to belong, like, yes, I'm Rock's dad. Yes, I am Molly's husband. Yes, I am blah, blah, blah. But I'm also not. I belong to myself, and I am something I can never. And if I hunched in the identity of just being limited to belonging, I would not be doing a service to any of them, because the only way to walk out of this illusion prison, as the Buddha, that whole idea, is to walk out and show like I'm free in this world on my leash. I am free. I radiate.
Yeah.
And come join me in the field beyond ideas of right and wrong. There is a field. I will meet you there. Yeah. So I love that. Belonging. Okay. What did you dream last night? Do you remember? I don't actually. It slipped.
Oh, I do.
Is it appropriate to?
My dream I was in it's not I haven't actually sat with the relevance of it yet. I'm actually going to tell you the dream the night before because it was
Okay, great.
so trippy. So I was in the house that I grew up in, and the house was full of people, and even my bedroom there was like people sleeping like in all different angles in my bedroom. And I was trying to get to this one drawer because when I looked in the mirror I had these black dots, like it looked like black dots, but I was seeing it as acne. And so I was trying to get into my drawer so I could get my face wash and go to the bathroom and wash my face. And and I couldn't get it. And so I went to the bathroom anyways. And my mom was there. My mom has passed away and she shows up in my dreams.
Wow.
We get there. And by the time I looked in the mirror again, not only were there these black dots, but there was like kind of a cheesecloth underneath each one. So it was sitting on top of something that was covering. And then I had a moment with my mom and I showed her the people in my room and I was trying to get the people out of my room. And then I come back to the bathroom again and we go to wash it. And now my whole face is covered in this cheesecloth with these black dots. And so we're starting to wash it off. And as we're washing it off, we're noticing there's something under my skin. And I look down at my arm and these black dots are on my arm and with the cheesecloth squares again. And then we peel them off. And under my skin were these little tiny squares that were like a RF code. Like I was being tracked, like all this tracking. And I sat with my mom and I realized like all these things that are getting under my skin and all the ways I'm giving myself to the machine and being tracked. It was like such a big metaphor of like, what am I giving myself over to be tracked and controlled by the tracking and like what's being shown to me in my algorithm and like all the control mechanism, like we don't even realize it's there, but it's there and it's going to start to pop and it's going to start to be seen through these, you know, like these little, they're oversized blackheads on my body. And like I could get the blackhead off and I could get the cheese skin off, but the tracking it was there, it was embedded and I couldn't get it out. And my mom was like the OG conspiracy theorist, you know, like she, like not like COVID conspiracy. My mom was like big pharma, big oil, big ag. She was.
I think there needs to be another name for that too. Like,
I know.
That's not conspiracy theory.
I actually kind of laugh. I have this pyramid. I'm like, I don't wear a tinfoil hat. This is my.
That's sick.
I'm like that. OG. I'm like, don't trust the government like from the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
you're making me think with the tracking though of a friend of mine, and I share his sentiment. It was always like I had another friend who, I put tape on my phone. God bless. Everyone has their way.
Yeah.
You know, they're tracking. And my friend was like, yo, let them track, man. They can watch the porn I'm watching. They could watch. Like he was being silly. And I thought that's funny. Like if I had a tracking device and the feds were following me, I will lead them into these random scenarios of poetry where they'll be, and I don't know. It's just, it made me think of that.
I mean, I think the same thing, but then it's how it's used as a mechanism of control, like what's being shown on your screen and like what.
No, I know. It's a fine line. It's a fine line.
I'm always
but you can't run from it.
Let them track me. You're going to be doing yoga nidra. You're going to be.
It's like, exactly. It's deeper than that, though. Well, your dream, first of all, is not mine to even comment on, but it's deeper than that for sure. It's way deeper than what I just made a joke about, and that's really powerful. And I appreciate you sharing that. The last dream I feel called. It was a few days ago, but it was actually right when I started my residency. I dreamt that I and my dog. I think I'm more my dog's human. My owner, who's my dog, and I both needed surgery. And after, Juju was riddled with these horrible holes all through his skin was like drooping. He looked like he was about to die. It was horrendous. And I was like, oh my God, like what in the, like he's dying. And this friend of mine who is a very like, he's an anarchist, he's a funny character. And he said, oh man, you got fucked, bro. You got duped. They scammed you. Like Juju didn't need surgery, but they wanted your money. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. Of like, for me, it represented taking my unconscious wolf, my beautiful side, and subjecting it to the fluorescent surgery of logic and sense, and being aware of that as I was in school too, which is a very soulful school, but just being careful to not, as Jung said, in our attempt to heal the psyche, may we not cut too deep in the same way that cutting into a seed of an oak tree to understand the oak tree would kill the oak tree within the oak tree. May we always bow before the mystery.
Yeah.
Okay, next. Oh, freaky dragon, the mention of lemons can make you salivate, so therefore ... Now, let's try to decode this guy. I think what I was talking about, freaky dragon part, I don't know what I was talking about, but I remember in class, the idea that if someone was describing a lemon in a very visceral way, it can make your mouth water if you like lemons, which is a way of saying imagination is real, or the image is real. So I think that's just, a lot of this work to me is a reclamation of imagination individually, which goes back to the education idea. So I don't know. Any thoughts on imaginary lemons making you thirsty?
I mean, there's so much depth in that. There's so much depth in that because, and it kind of goes back to like what we're feeding our minds, because our, information in, information out. Less information in, more information comes from within. And we're living in this world again where we're being shown images and images and images and images. And I think one of my objections to social media is how traumatic it is to go on there these days. And how there is like a world of expectation that you would subject yourself to that. Otherwise, you're a bad person. And that imagination, then it, like, if we're putting violence in constantly, violence is going to come out eventually. And so
100%.
Whether you like the lemon or not, if you tasted a lemon, you're going to have a moment.
Reaction.
Yeah, exactly. And so what are we feeding in that will eventually come out, I think is such an important conversation, and why I refuse to share trauma online. Like it's not that I'm ignoring it. It's that I want to feed your I want information.
To me, it's art or nothing. And until there's a better way, I will unfortunately utilize some of that stuff, but I 100% agree. It's, and so what do you think about this idea that don't believe your beliefs? I don't know if you've ever heard that phrase, but I've always loved that. Don't believe your beliefs. And then B,
tell me all beliefs are lies.
Yeah, I mean, well, also a belief is something that you could believe one moment and not the other. So when a homie of mine in Harlem was asked, like a really OG Rasta guy, if he believed in God, his answer to this person who asked him was, no, I don't. I know God. And that's the same as Young being asked if he believes God is real. He's like, I know God is real. It's not even a thing. So, but the belief, so aliens, it's back to the telepathy tapes, which we talked a lot about last time. I love the idea in that show, which is not just in that show, it's in many other places, but what you believe is what you will encounter, which goes back to the consensus reality. So if someone's like really into aliens, the mystery might appear as aliens. Yeah. If you really believe in good and evil, life will appear to be good and evil. I don't believe in evil. What does that mean? I'm not going to try to explain it right now, but it's not how I operate. And like if there's so many levels of the game, that woke me up one time, because I knew Bloods, like the gang of Blood, who was so into Palladians. And it was such a funny juxtaposition of this gangster ass dude from Compton who I love telling me all about the Palladians and the reptilians. And I was grappling with that, and I was like, I hear you. It sounds like that, is a thing. I get it. But then realizing, like, is it true or not true? It's true for him, and it's true for a lot of people. Therefore, it's true for them. And if the belief, back to the lemon, can create a reality, if enough people are believing something, it becomes a reality.
Yeah.
But then I don't need to believe it. So I can say, cool, that's your world. You want to live where there's heaven and hell? Good luck with that. As my dad always says, SpongeBob, good luck with that. You want to take over the world? Good luck with that. But at a certain point, that's what the lemon is bringing up in me right now. It's like, I want to just sit here and do my thing, follow my compass of the wiggle compass, that thing, the longing compass that you and I both, God bless, or seem connected to, and then just like surprise me One of my favorite quotes. I said to my soul, be still and wait without hope, because hope would be hope for the wrong thing.
Mm.
Those who the gods wish to punish, they grant their wishes. Watch out when you manifest. Who's manifesting what? I'd rather just say, surprise me, and in the meantime, I'll write poetry. Okay. Last but not least, I'll do two last things. I'll say this and see if anything comes up. I'll roll the dice for the trifecta of dice rolling and to close our beautiful time. Molly and I were talking about Frida and individuation. What does it mean? We were freestyling together, and Molly said, one thought that came up in that regard is to become peculiar. And I love that phrase. What does that bring up for you, if anything? To become peculiar.
I mean, the first thing that's coming up is just how our weirdness is what makes us interesting. Like to become so homogenized, to become like everyone else is to lose yourself. And to honor and not cheat on yourself and to go through the individuation process, you will be weird and you will be different and you might shock people, but it will make you interesting and it will make people think. And I think that's really important right now, to make people think, because, with outsourcing thinking and outsourcing problem solving and the pressure to stay in line is so strong, that to be weird and to just like become peculiar,
yeah, peculiar. You can say it in your own peculiar way.
Right. I think is what the world needs. And I think people are really fascinated by it. Like if you look at kind of, I think people are thirsty for it. I think they're hungry for it.
And what you said, I agree, is also like, it'll make you interesting primarily to yourself. That's the reward. It just makes you interesting to yourself. When you start realizing that it's just you and you.
Yeah.
This whole world potentially is just you and you.
Yeah.
There's theories, right? Like I'm in your movie, you're in my movie.
Yeah.
But maybe there's no, like my cohort is called the Imaginary Friends. Tom Robbins, a quote I found today or rediscovered today. Tom Robbins said, as a child, did I already say this? I think I already did in the poem. Yes. I was the imaginary playmate. Mm-hmm. Anyway. So when you realize it's just you and you, wow. Yeah. What do you want to do? I mean, if everything else is back to the illusion. So I love it. Peculiarity, a little more dice rolling for the finale. And tune in for our third episode where we reveal the actual truest and only religion of the entire universe that if you do not subscribe to for a monthly subscription, you will spend eternity in hell.
You'll be doomed.
Definitely. For real, though. Like, for real. Watch out. It's getting, I'm
excited.
They think we're joking. All right. 332. Rosa Luxemburg. I actually don't know who that is. Oh, what a quote. I love this quote, though. I remember finding this quote. Those who do not move do not notice the chains.
Whoa. No, that's
crazy.
Whoa.
I know, I got goosebumps all over the place.
Oh, my God.
That's a drop the mic haunting line.
That's all I have to say about that.
That's it. I know. To be continued for
Holy shit, that's a
shout out to Rosa. Yes. Thank you again. As always, it's true honor.
Thank you.
To flow. Yeah.
Thank you. I love the complete surprise nature of our conversations.
Same.
I don't know where we're going.
I don't either.
And,
I try not to overthink it. I really do. I try. That's why I'm more and more writing that kind of like prompting, because I want to catch myself off guard and say, wait, what was it? So a joy.
Yeah.
Shout out to everyone listening. We love you, or I love you sometimes. I don't know who you are though yet, but I'm learning to love myself. So yeah, that'll be good.
I think I could say like, I've got love for you, like.
Reminds me of a Nate Dogg song, like I got love for all the homies or something. But yeah, definitely. I feel, or as my old bandmate made an EP, I feel ways about things.
I feel ways about things.
I love that. Shout out to Father Dude. All right, everyone. Adios. Oh, I don't think we realize the magnitude of the fucking blessing of what this life actually is.
You woke my soul from a coma, tearing me from the comfort of my lies. I let you break my heart open all the way. Take me, I'm ready for this ride. Preach. You're preaching me patience, you're preaching me love. I'm losing my mind here. You're preaching forgiveness, you're preaching me pain, but I can't find my way here. So leave me with my eyes closed. Leave me with my eyes closed. 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 You make my love grow taller, all the way to the phoenix on cloud 9. Baby, come break me out of this old cage that I've made. I'm ready for this ride. Preach. You're preaching me patience, you're preaching me love. I'm losing my mind here. You're preaching forgiveness, you're preaching me pain, but I can't find my way here. So leave me with my eyes closed. Leave me with my eyes closed. 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 Waiting on angels to appear instead of looking to the one in the mirror. We gave our power to the preacher, and now we're alone. But alone is not alone, she said. You are your own best friend, stop listening then. Pay attention to the voice in your heart. When you hear it, everything disappear, you glow in the dark. But we're waiting for angels to come down instead of looking to the one here right now. We gave our power to the preacher, and now we're alone. You're preaching me patience, you're preaching me love. I'm losing my mind here. You're preaching forgiveness, you're preaching me pain, but I can't find my way here. So leave me with my eyes closed. Leave me with my eyes closed. With my eyes closed. With my eyes closed. With my eyes closed. With my eyes closed.